Hello everybody, you join me today. We're supposed to have been going out with Danny and Noel for a day's fishing down at Laval, but ran into a problem this morning with one of the cars. Tried to fix the brakes on it. Started at 9 hoping that it would be done by 10 o'clock so that I could go out, and here we are at 12:30 and couldn't finish it because I'd ordered the wrong brake pads. So my own fault. Changed the discs, not the pads, so that car is still laid up. Anyway, back to the fishing. We'll catch up with Danny and Noel next week, hopefully. Laval is about an hour and 3/4 drive for me, so to leave at 12:30, I wouldn't get there till nearly 2:30. Of course, it gets dark at 5 o'clock, so not really worth the journey that far. So we're heading up to St Lo, only about a 20-minute drive. We're going to have a look at the river vire. It's been pretty flooded, but there's a little part, I think, if we were to go, hopefully the river shouldn't be too bad, and maybe on its way down might fish really well. On the other hand, we might just be taking the dog out for a walk, and Monty is sat next to me. He's looking forward to the fishing as well, and we'll catch up with you in a minute when we're on the bank. Anyway, enough of that. We've arrived at the river. We just have to turn left down this little country lane, down this little chemin, as they're called here. Here's the river. Doesn't look like it's in flood. Looks like it's going through a little bit more than normal, but not unfishable. It's cracking. We need to get down to the riverbank and have a look. What do you think, dog? Well, the dog's looking forward to it. Well, we had a skimmer second chuck, and now, of course, after I've taken my coat off, the rain is coming down a bit heavier, and we didn't bring an umbrella, so I think we'll have to, at the very least, put our coat on. Despite the weather, we're going to give it a go. As we did so well after that second cast. Got a 28 gram feeder on to hold the bottom, and loading it with some decathlon cinnamon based feeder ground bait and some red maggots. And it looks like we've just missed a bite. Yep, we've got another fish. Not as big as the first one, but looks like a roach to me. Here he comes. There's a little skimmer. There he is, he's an angry little fish. Oh, there he is. Monty, leave him alone. Wait. Well, not the best of unhooking, but we'll put him straight back. There's a lesson, don't swing them in. At least he came in. Well, we've now Gone on to 2 worms tipped with a sort of orangey white maggot. It's actually 1 worm cut in half, but effectively 2 little bits dangling. And I'm pretty hopeful that might bring us a bream. There's lots of movement and bubbling, and that's a cracking bite. Well, this isn't a roach, and that moved to two worms. Now there's a fair old current, so it's not the biggest bream in the world, but it's certainly it's putting a nice bend in the rod, as you can see. Here he comes. I'll tell you what, in this water you think it's a lot bigger than it actually is. The dog can see it, can't you, Monty? Let's drag him in. There we go. Well, I think that confirmed that the way to go is to use the worms we've just dug out of the garden. Look at that. Lovely fish. And interesting thing is, whereas the other bites had been quite hard to see, there was absolutely no mistaking what that was. So let's put that down. Goes in the net. What do you think, Monty the dog? We're having a good day's fishing. And away he goes. There we go. Let's get another worm ready. Well, in fact, we've still got one of them on there, so he can stay. And we'll find another little one to go with it. The worms were really easy to dig up today, and not always. They were right at the top, and we do have a couple of really nice lobworms. And I think a bit later on I'm going to try a lobworm, or like the head of it, because I don't know, perhaps we can snarl an angry chub or maybe a perch. Still, they're done. We'll just tip this off with a maggot like we did before. Don't know if it does any good or not, but we're trying it. A little bit more ground bait in the feeder. I'm not actually filling the feeder up, I'm only just lining the insides of it. And let's have another go. A tangle, we seem to get that at the end of this rod. Perfect. We have to let a bit of line out because I reckon it's at least 10 or 12 foot deep here, even though we're actually quite close to the bank. The rod we're using today is Shimano Force Master, and it's 12 foot distance feeder, which seems a bit strange because I'm fishing so close in, but it's got a lovely action to it. And with this tip, it's got a slightly heavier tip on, which is ideal because the water is carrying a fair bit of speed. This stretch is normally a lot slower. In fact, some days you barely know it's moving, but it is moving through after all the rain we've had. Bit of history to this, I purchased it from a shop in Portsmouth, and well, I suppose it's Waterlooville really, rather than Portsmouth. Well-known local tackle shop there, and I'd only had it a couple of months, and second outing with it. Put on a 30-gram feeder, very gentle cast in a lake out towards an island, and the rod snapped in half, right where the join is in the middle. It's a two-piece rod. So I went back to the shop and had a word with the owner, who said leave it with him and he'd see what he could do. Anyway, I was in the shop and was spending a bit of time picking out a few bits of tackle, because there's certain things you can only get in England, or very difficult to get in France at a good price. And he came back 5 minutes later and said he'd phoned Shimano, who were pretty upset that a rod of theirs had snapped, and he gave me another one off the shelf, which was excellent. That was 4 or 5 years ago, and I've never had problems since. So probably just a little bit unlucky, but it's a cracking rod, and when I'm on flooded rivers like this, it's ideal. And we also fish some big reservoirs, and if you've got to throw a hefty feeder a long way, then this is the boy for the job. But fair play to Shimano, who didn't query it, and instantly replaced it, which I couldn't really ask for any more. And as I say, since then it's proved to be an excellent rod. I think we paid about £130 for it. Just had a bite. Yep. Oh. Yep, we're in again. Yeah, this feels very different. Nothing like the size of the last one, but it's fish, and it's well downstream. Seem to be pulling it up quite a bit down from where I'm casting in, but we're not going to make a mistake like we did with the other small fish. I think we will. Will we net this? No, it's a roach. Nice roach. There we go. Well, first roach of the day, and he's only a little fella, but very, very welcome. Put him back in. He's gone, boy. Once again, the two worms seemed to do the trick, and possibly gave us a better bite. Maybe they just want a bit of bigger bait today. I'm not sure why. Lobworm there trying to get away. I'm sure there's some better anglers than me can drop us a comment and tell us why in sort of semi-flood conditions the fish prefer worms. Or they do today anyway. Let's just cut that little fella in half. So we've got 4 bits of worm dangling down, and we'll find the find the hook point eventually, and we'll just tip it with a maggot. A bit too much feed in there, just take a little bit out. You having a good time sat in the water there? Right, I'll give that another go. Same sort of spot, about, I don't know, 7 or 8 metres, maybe 9 metres away from the bank, and about 20 metres downstream. That's where we're putting it. We'll wait for it just to settle. So I've told you about the rod we're using today. The reel well, the ones worked again. We had hook or something, I'm not sure if it's come off. No, it's still on. Not a big fish, mind. No, just a small skimmer. We'll just net him. Well, it's got to be said, this is turning into a cracking afternoon. Oh, little fella. Cracking afternoon for January. Here we go. So. Okay. There we are. Another little skimmer. And we're not using the keep net, so you can go straight back in the water. Oh, got another fish. We've got a fish, Monty. Well, this would be a nice way to end the day. Getting a bit late. It feels like a good fish. I don't know what it is yet. Best fish of the day. Here he comes. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I think that's the best fish of the day. And there he is. Ooh. Lively, but there we go. A lovely bream to finish the day. Let's put him back in the water. Well, I think that's about where we're going to finish today. We've had an excellent afternoon's fishing. We've got some fish, ending up with that nice bream, which, considering it's a pretty dull, drab and cold day in January, I reckon it's pretty good going. Anyway, let's get back to the car. Let's give Monty the dog a wash. You had a good time, Monty the dog? He's had a good time. And we'll see you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you want to leave some comments, please do. And if you live in Normandy and want to come fishing, why not drop us a line and meet up with some of the guys. See you all again soon.